Agent Power Huddle is a daily jumpstart, giving you all the tools you need to create an amazing real estate career. Led by top experts in the field, you'll learn how to sell more houses in less time while creating the life you want. Welcome to the Agent Power Huddle.
Good morning, and thank you for taking time out in your busy day to listen to my ideas on how to win a listing every time. I'm Dolly Helbert, and I've been in the real estate business for 37 years. My coach, John Walteri, tells me I don't know how to do what I do, but I do it well. It's innate. So when Autumn asked me to do this, I basically panicked because I really don't know how to put into words how I do my listing appointments. So every appointment is unique. I'm different than the other three that you guys have heard if you've been doing this for the last 3 weeks. So just hang on for the ride. I started my business really not interested in listings at all. I like buyers. Instant gratification, being able to find houses quickly, and yes, man, there was a time we could do that. You put a buyer in the car and off we went, and it was great. And I loved working through that process. In those early years, I did buyer presentations, which really helped me with my listing presentation when I finally decided that was the way I was going to make money. And mine, again, is probably different than what you've heard thus far. This buyer presentation that I did is a skill that we're all going to have to come back to, I believe, after everything that we've heard, and that's a discussion for another day. So working with buyers took a lot of time, and so I started shifting over to the listing side. As the team grew, I started putting people in place around me, like my listing coordinator. It helps me with the things that I didn't like, and she absolutely loves. Closing coordinator, buyer's agent, so we could work efficiently. At our peak, we were closing about 200 houses a year. Well, I skinnied that down a bit for personal reasons over the last few years, so that's kind of the history of the Helbert team. Now let's get into doing what I do and how I do it. And I know you've heard a lot of others talk about their ways of getting every listing. I'm here to tell you that I don't get every listing. Some I simply don't want. You walk in and you know that that's not a listing that you even want to touch. Others, I walk away beating myself up because I made a mistake. You see, this is a learning curve, and we never stop learning even after 37 years. So when I get that first phone call from a client, or I'm making the first phone call to a client who I want to know who I'm talking to, I'm a firm believer in using the disc profile, and somewhere I think I have lost the ability to share my screen. So you guys have got to bear with me because technology today does not seem to be my friend. I'm not sure how many of you guys are avid fans of the disc profile. So bear with me a second. Oh, crap. So, hang tight. I wanted to share my screen and show you the disc profile. Here we go. I'm going to share the screen real quick. Again, thank you for bearing with me. This is not my friend today because I have moved my screens around so that I would have better lighting. Anyway, it's coming. I swear it is. Or chat. So is this what's fun about doing these things? Feel free to jump in if anybody wants to. You often talk amongst yourself while I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. Well, it is profile. Share screen. Never mind. I'm not going to waste our time. So the disc profile, if you're not familiar with it, it is DISC. The D, I can figure out within about 60 seconds who I'm talking to. If there is a high D, then I know that that I have to be very, very succinct in what I'm saying. And again, I apologize for not being able to share my screen here very easily. Because it really makes sense. An I is a D is a line. Is somebody that is very, very to the fact, matter of fact. They want to know exactly the facts. They don't want to know anything else. An I is gregarious, a happy person. I've got a lot of I in my personality. An S is, and I'll wear me out in a second. An S is a little more stable. Probably my favorite of the people that I work with, and their I's and S's are probably the easiest to work with, and then the C is very methodical in how they think. When you walk in with your CMA, you better have everything right. You better know all of your facts. So I know I'm throwing out a whole lot of stuff, so I'm stop for just a second. Well, people can be a combination of things, and I like to think about how you care about your clients, who they are, and we just went through a really difficult situation in my mind because I love my clients and I am very relational. I prefer a relationship type practice. It's really kind of funny because we're working on our database and we're transitioning over to KB Core. And one of my team members is doing the heavy lifting on it to make sure that we have everybody in the database and that we have the dates and everything correct. And we had one family I've done 3 transactions with and then helped his mom move. I knew with the kid, they had 1 child when I started. They've got 3 now. I've been in constant contact with them. Just a great family. Got a call from my listing coordinator that's helping me with the work. And she was almost in tears because when she went and looked at their information, they had bought a house with someone else and had sold without us. And those kind of things cut you to the core when you're having relationship business. I look back in my notes. I've been in touch with them within the last 3 months. Everything was fine. Life was good. They were happy. And we have no idea what happened. They're not responding to me. And I suspect they saw a house. They got swept up. I know the team they worked with. The team is awesome. So the point is, when you do this type of business, if you take it personally, it's really, really hard. The other type of business is strictly transitional. You're one and done and you're good. So you move on to the next one. Most rubbers don't like to do this, but there's plenty to do. You have a choice, and both are okay. But the personal relationship and building a personal relationship is really hard. So what I'm getting to is that with the DISC profile, you know who you're talking to. You figure it out really fast. And you're really working on that personal relationship. So again, a high D is going to be a very hard person to ever form a personal relationship with. They're typically going to be a one and done, but they may respect your work. They may refer you on because you're professional. You do a great job. You don't ask them about fluffy cat. They don't care about anything but getting to the facts. There's no chit chat. They don't, or what they like to do. They're my least favorite because they're hard to develop a relationship. But the good news is they're only about 9% of our population. The I, enthusiastic, open, as I mentioned before, you can have great relationships with them. S is a good old Labrador retriever, calm, deliberate, don't like to be rushed, and then C loves the details. I'm a high I and S, and then I learned D because I'm a team leader. You do learn specific styles, but just taking the test, I'm a high I and S. The I, S's, and C's are harder to figure out when you're on the phone with them because they are very, they have a lot of similar characteristics, but you can usually do it pretty fast once you learn some of this and you understand who you're talking to. Pretty fast, a D again, you're going to know. Once you have an idea who you're talking with, it makes that initial conversation go much easier. I'm most conservative about ID because I want to make sure I'm handling it correctly. And everything I do is centered around the questions and building relationships. My whole listing presentation is questions, and you're going to see that in just a minute because, again, I do my work, I do my background work, but I asked a lot of questions. So, of course, if you call, you're setting the appointment, the main focus is making sure all the decision makers are there for the appointment, why they're still the timeline, etc. I do want to make that no major improvements to the house. If the house is more than 10 years old, like roofs, HVAC, because that matters in the suitability of the house. Other than that, they can give me more information. That's fine, but I want to keep that conversation short. Then I go away. I do all the technical things everyone else does. I do a great CMA. I know my numbers. I work as close to what an actual appraiser does as I can, determine average dollar per square foot for marketplace, a lot of those factors. Like, so it has a pool because that matters. I'm in North Carolina in the triangle, so that kind of matters. Lot size. I make sure I understand the product. However, I'm never afraid to adjust or pivot when I'm sitting there talking to them, because their house may have something really remarkable that they didn't tell me about, or that I see when I walk in, or it may be a house that wasn't touched since 1952 and was haunted. So we never know what we're going to be doing before we walk in. I have a listing presentation book that I take with me, and this is it. It's very simple. It's very small, and it has all of my tools inside. I don't go through it page by page. I use it as I need it. There are times that I don't even open it, except for I've got my listing agreement in it, and I have my residential property disclosure in it, and then I have a couple of forms I want to fill out just to get the basic information from them. Again, I want to establish a relationship with them. I want them to trust me, understand that I'm a professional, and want to work with me. The rest of it is easy. I used a term the other day in Mastermind, on a Mastermind call, that Jesse said he'd never heard before, and it's called getting to the rib. And I don't know whether you guys have heard that or not. When I say getting to the rib with a client, 80%, or I get to the rib with a client, 80% of the time they're mine. I'm done. I think this is what my listing presentation is different than the ones you've heard before, because the other guys that came before, man, they were so great, and I picked up so many good tips. But it's a little bit different because, again, I get more to a personal level. So let me explain what I mean by getting to the red. Years ago, I went to a Joe Stump conference, and I don't know whether you know Joe Stump with by referral only or not, but I've been a fan for years, and I was a member for a number of years, because he understood building business on relationships, and that it was so much easier. And there was a time that 95% of my business was just strictly relationship business. It changed as I built the team, but it was more relationship business. He taught me the importance of asking questions and not telling people things. Of course, you've got to tell them something, but just asking questions. And we may even be telling them things they have no interest in knowing. So you have to know what it is that they want to know, and you don't know that if you don't ask them the question. So we drill down to find out what's important to them. So if you go running in and waiting to see a marketing plan and not understanding motivation, good chance you will lose if you go up against someone they feel is not only competent, but that cares. So at the conference, he asked for a volunteer from the audience. We were all realtors or lenders, and this was a long time ago. This was probably 25 years ago, guys, so a long time ago. This lady came up on stage, and he asked the usual, her name, how long in the business, etc. Then he asked her how much she wanted to make that year. She said something like $50,000, maybe $25,000. It was a small amount of money to the rest of us who were there that wanted big bucks. Well, we spent our hard-earned money to fly this conference, spend 2 days to learn how to make six figures, and big six figures at least. And so we were all sitting there thinking, why don't you ever want to make a small amount of money? That's just crazy. And so his next question is, tell me why that number is important to you. And she says she needed some time off. Well, again, we're sitting there thinking, time off in the real estate business, you don't get time off, because this is a real pack of any really motivated people. Next question is, well, tell me more. She went on to tell him after a number of questions, this was probably a 5 to 7 minute conversation, at least, and maybe longer. She went on to tell him that her husband had been sick. He asked if she would mind sharing more. Now, he did not know her, did not know her circumstances, and she took a deep breath and said he was terminally ill. And she needed enough income for the family to survive so she could take the time to be his caregiver and the time off to do that and to spend time with him. Well, the greedy pigs of us thinking she isn't motivated, she didn't need to be in the business, is that's all she wants to make, felt awful. But Joe had gotten to the red with her. He got to the heart of the matter. And it was just amazing to watch. And I asked him later, because I didn't know him at that point. I'd been to a couple of conferences, if that was a setup, because I was really curious as to, because it was pretty awesome to watch that. And it was not. And the point is, when you walk into someone's house, price may not be the most important thing. There can be so many other factors as to why someone is selling, and we need to find that out. So it's all about the questions. We need to get to the red with the client to really understand the motivation. I missed 2 listings in a row, and I'll mention it to my coach, John, and he obviously questioned me hard on it, like what I had done, what I felt like I had done wrong. And I realized that not made the connection with the client. I just went in and started telling them what I thought the house was worth, what I thought it was going to take to market it properly, and blah, 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 blah. I told them things. After that, for a very long time, I had a piece of red yarn that I tied to my wrist so that I would remember to get to the red. And most times on listing appointments, I'll wear something red now so that I can remember that this has nothing to do with me and going and getting the listing. This has to do with the client and going and getting, understanding what their needs are, what their wants are, and what their desires are, because they feel that, they know it, they understand it, and they feel you really care. And it's not about the dollars in your pocket. When it's about them, then you got to win. So when you're meeting with a client, there are all kinds of reasons they're selling. It might be for health reasons, a job change, a tragedy in their life, or the fun ones. They may be having a baby. They just need more space. They've had a big raise. They may be downsizing so they can buy a beach property. You never know what the real true reason is. So sometimes the conversation can be quick. Other times it can take some questions, but the best ones are, would you share with me why this is important? Tell me more. What else can you share with me about that? The minute you start preaching to them, you lose them. So each client is different, and you need to understand what the most important things are to address with them. I'll start with the following, and I like to do it before I tour the house. I normally ask if we can sit at the kitchen table and chat for a few minutes. I love the kitchen table. Kitchen tables mean a lot to families. It's where you gather. It's where you have, obviously, your evening meal and get the opportunity to have evening meals. Families are so busy now, but it's where families connect. So I really love the kitchen table. I won't sit at the dining room table unless they absolutely insist, and the kitchen table is just full of junk. Don't want to sit in the living room. I want to sit at the kitchen table. I want to sit with husband and wife, one on the end, one in the middle. I don't want them to where they're separated, where I'm having to bounce back and forth like a ping pong ball. And then I start asking, what is the most important thing to you? My best question, price, timing, or convenience? And usually they say all three. I say you can't have all three. You got to tell me one. Because you need to know exactly what it is. But there's no sense in talking about going in and completely redoing a house if they don't have the money to do it, or they don't have the time to do it, and they want it to be a really fast sale and convenient. They may be willing to take less money. So you need to know what that motivation is to be able to help determine exactly where you're going with it. And then the next one is, when did you first start thinking about selling your home? And this is a great question because it tells you so much about them. If it's a rash, if they've just thought about it, then that gives you a clue that there might be something big going on in their life. It could be that they have just got the job promotion. It could be a divorce. It could be illness. There could be some financial stress. If you're in the red, they're going to open up and tell you what's going on and why they have, the timing kind of thing. It may be, the kids are graduating next year. We've been thinking about it for a long time. Well, that's a really good, intro into that. Well, there's really nothing wrong here. We got some time. We need to know when the kids are going to graduate. So all those questions, that's a great question unless you have a high ID. And always remember, when you have a high ID, you have to be careful with any of these questions. How long have you lived here? Sometimes you don't need to ask that question because usually, you pull the tax records. What improvements have you made to your home? You need to know the big stuff again. You've asked about HVAC, you've asked about the list, but there are other things, and you're going to see some of those. So that question can kind of weigh that you need to. If there was one thing you could change about your home, what would that be? Because that's going to be an important one in your marketing when you start thinking about marketing. So if there's something they really hate about the house, then you're going to have to be able to work around that. You want to know what they owe on the home and what kind of mortgage do they have. Like now, with interest rates so high, assumable mortgages are, if you can find one that's assumable, man, you've got something. You can sell it very, very quickly. So that's an important one. What do you expect your home to sell for? And then a follow-up question is, how did you come to that number? Some people will say, well, that's why I got you here. And, but still, again, by this point, hopefully you're far enough into making you more comfortable and sitting there talking to you that you can at least joke through, well, you got a number in mind. I'm sure you looked at the Zillow estimate. Are you there? So it's a matter of how comfortable are you with them as to how far you can cajole them into giving you that number. And then, where would you like to move? Where are you going? Once I sell this house, where are you going to go? What's the next step? And then when would you like to be in your home? Because, again, we're talking about timing. Is this something that's going to happen immediately? Is it going to happen 6 months down the road? And then if your house did not sell, what would that do to your plans? Because you want to know if they've got a plan B. Is this something that, our favorite one is, well, let's just test the market. Let's just see how it does. I really don't care. This is going to tell you their motivation. How motivated are they? If it's a financial problem and the house doesn't sell, what's that going to do to your plans? Well, that's going to be a pretty big answer. Here's another one of my favorites. Tell me about your last move. Because that's going to start spilling the beans on what that last realtor did wrong. And then you're going to know what pitfalls there are. So you want to be very careful not hitting any of those. Or they're going to tell you what the realtor did right. Or they're going to tell you that it was an absolutely wonderful move and they had nothing else to expound on. And then who have you spoken to about the sale of your home? Now, I don't ask that if it's one of my people, because a lot of times, and this is the beauty of the 37 years, I go in, they're not talking to anybody else, and it's a very friendly conversation, and they ask me, Dolly, what do you think my house is worth? I tell them, and then we sign the paperwork and we're gone, and that's pretty easy. But that's not always it. We can go ahead and talk about if there's something that's realistic or not there. So after we've talked for a bit and I have the questions answered, then I want to see the house. I feel like I'd rather have the rapport on the front end, and people will push back a little bit. They say, don't you want to see the house first? It's like, no, let's just sit down and talk for a minute. Because I've got some things I'd like to know first before I see the house. And then I want to see the house. I'm not a big fan of me going through and telling them what they have to do. And that's what a lot of the expectation of people when you walk into their house. I have a stager that comes through and I'll ever be the bad guy. Now, there's something really obvious, or they ask me an obvious question like, do they have to paint the daughter's orange room a neutral color? Of course, the answer is going to be yes. We're going to do some painting here, or I would suggest that would be a good idea. But when it comes down to the actual staging of the home, I will let them know that, while we're walking through, I'm looking for something that is really blatant, and so much is going to depend on what the market is doing, the price range, and the types of things that we're gonna that we have to look at that we're gonna need to do. So that piece is pretty easy for me to sidestep around. I'm going to give my stager clues on where they are with their financial position, what they can afford to do, what the market is demanding, on how much she needs to do with them. And she's very gentle and very kind. So I also want to get under the house. I've never listed a house that I've not been under. In North Carolina, we're hot, we're timid, and we have lots of fungus and stuff growing under our houses here. And I want to make sure we don't have a problem there, because that can be thousands of dollars to clean up, and that can kill a sale. Or a lot of our agents don't understand it because they haven't been around long enough, and they haven't seen sellers have to pay that bill or how horrible that is to negotiate. So I'd rather go ahead and address that up front too. So when we toured the house, I'd like to go ahead and do that, but at least before I leave the property, I will go and crawl under the house. I don't have to crawl very far because I've gotten old. I don't like to crawl under houses, but I will go far enough so that I can tell if there's fungus growing and how moldy and all it is. So once we've gotten that point, we sit down, we go over the numbers. I know what their expectation is from our previous conversation. If they're way higher than I'm hoping for, then I was hoping that I had seen something really grand in the house that I had missed from the old MLS sheet. Otherwise, we really have to just sit down and talk about what's reasonable, and that's where I get very similar with the other guys that you've already heard on how do you get people's expectations to where they need to be. I believe it was Ed that I just absolutely loved we don't really want to help sell the neighbor's house. So we're going to really pay attention to those numbers and make sure that we are in line with what the market says. I'll look at, I do my CMA, I come up with a range, and usually I'm pretty close, it depends on the price range of the house, but somewhere, within a $25,000 range, the numbers don't lie. I had a picture over here, and I can't, for some reason, I'm not able to share my screen with you. I've got a picture of Foghorn Leghorn, and I don't know if this is on this call as to what your age group is, but Foghorn Leghorn is my favorite of all old cartoons, and he had a chicken hawk with him, and the chicken hawk does math. And Foghorn Leghorn says, you can argue with me, but you can't argue with figures. And it depends on how old my clients are as to whether they're going to remember old Foghorn Leghorn or not. But what it basically is saying is the numbers are what the numbers are. You can only spend them so many ways, and if your math is done properly and they can understand the math, then they really can't argue with you. They may say, but let's just try $25,000 more. And your response to that is, that's great, we can do that, but the people, your best shot is selling it very, very quickly, because the people that are looking for a house like yours are going to come out fast. They're going to be the ones that are going to be out there that first week because they're waiting for something. And if you're overpriced, then you have lost your opportunity with them. So we're better to price it where it needs to be priced from the get-go. And if we're lucky, and in the triangle, we still do see some multiple offers on things. If we're lucky and we price it where it needs to be priced, it will get bid up. If it does not, then we know that, and you still sell it, we know that we have priced it correctly and you've gotten what you needed to get. If we overprice it, it's going to sit, and then you're going to start reducing the price, and you're going to take less than have we priced it at the right number. So most people understand that pretty easily. The tough ones are those that we just don't have good comps for, and of course we all struggle with those. But we go through all of those, and then I don't usually price my houses sitting at the table if they have work to do. So if we're 30 days out from actually putting the house on the market, I'd like to get my listing agreement signed. Is it someone I don't know? If it's one of my people, then we may wait, and then my listing coordinator is going to send it out via DocuSign, because I know they're not going anywhere. and we will price a house a few days prior to putting it on the market. One thing is, when we do our photographs, our photographer does our floor plan for us, so I know about really accurate square footage. I know every market is different, but ours, we have to put accurate square footage in. And if our tax records are always wrong, if the old MLS was wrong, and they have an extra 100 square feet, that can certainly change our price. We can always change the price on a listing agreement later, but again, let's go back to the fact that I've been doing this for a very, very long time. I'm meeting with a lot of my own clients, so I'm not worried that they're going somewhere else. If it is a client that is not one of mine, I will get that listing agreement signed. We will put a price in, or I will say, are you okay with leaving the price blank for now? Because if we're 30 days out and we're going to be doing some things to the house, we want to see what the market looks like in 30 days. Things can change. Competition can get fierce. And we want to be right where we need to be and priced with the competition. So I'm very careful to see what else is on the market and how they fit with those that are on the market when we're ready to price it. So we'll talk about, doesn't it make sense to be just a little bit below 123 Elm Street when we're ready to actually price your house? Are you okay with that? And I don't think I've ever had anybody tell me no. We talk about people waiting for the perfect house, and at this point, you earn their trust, and you can either walk out of the house with the agreement signed, which is perfect, and especially perfect if you're a newer agent and you're someone you don't know. But if it's one of your own peeps, then, I would just say, hang tight and see what, wait a little while and then plug your price in at the very last minute. But I rarely walk out without a commitment from my people. Our next step is I pass it off to Roberta. She gets the stager schedule. We get the work done. We have a list of people that we can have come in and get work done for them. Our trades are extremely great. And then our book, I didn't talk much about my actual listing presentation book. As we go through, it has everything in there that we can. It has our whole listing plan of how we market a house, the things that we do, where we put it, our photography, all of the things, because we're top notch. We compete with everybody in town. So that being said, that is pretty much it. I think that we are, that's all I've got. The conversation is different with every potential client. There's no way it can be canned. I'd just say just practice the questions, have a basic outline of how the meeting will flow, and then you're going to be a winner. So that's it. I am more than happy to answer any questions for anyone. If anybody's got anything they want to ask me.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.